All right, this is the video lecture for the section of the Enlightenment and Revolution unit entitled The Enlightenment Spreads. We're going to start off with a definition of the term salons. The salon is the same sort of thing we're going to mimic in class at the end of the unit. So it's a gathering of people under the roof of an inspiring host, held partly to amuse one another and partly to refine the tastes and increase the knowledge of the participants through conversation. So hopefully our hostesses will do the same thing, right? And we will do the same thing, or you will do the same thing with each other, engaging in conversation, enjoying some food, getting to know each other, beginning to know stuff in our salon. But needless to say, people are starting to do this during the salon and talk about issues and debate things and try to be more educated and stuff like that. All right, the lady with one of the most influential salons in France was Maria Theresa Geoffrin, as an example of having people come over to their home and discuss, and this was one of the most sought after famous ones at the time. It's a picture here of what it may have looked like, a salon gathering. All right, other people of significance. This individual, Diderot, collected a bunch of works from a lot of different people and organized them together in one publication. He called his publication the Encyclopedia. And so as a reference point, some of you may have known that there was a time in history when people wanted to find out information that they would go to an index of books that were categorized by alphabetically, and you'd find the event that you wanted, and you'd go and you'd pull out the book, and then you'd read, and you'd kind of be at the mercy of whatever is published about that in that book. And that's how everybody got information. And that was a long time in history where that was the source of information, or people had a set of encyclopedias in their house. And now that the internet is available, it's almost totally irrelevant. So all that information can be found online. But going back to the Enlightenment, this idea of a collection of relevant informations, or a collection of different information on different topics was created. There were some popular musicians during the Enlightenment. There they are right there. These are classical musicians that composed music, typically played on piano, were very, very popular during the time. Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven. All right. In addition to that, there was also some leaders during the time of the Enlightenment that liked Enlightenment ideas, or at least wanted to present themselves as enlightened. So they embraced aspects of the Enlightenment, and those individuals were called enlightened despots. That two words there at the end of the description. This is Frederick the Great. Even though he was an absolutist dictator, he embraced some aspects of the Enlightenment, and so he was one of those enlightened leaders. There's a couple of ways. The next question, number 5, says give 3 ways the following leaders embraced Enlightenment ideals. So let's look at Frederick the Great first. That's this guy. I'm going to give you more than 3. You just need to write down whatever 3 you want. These are 3 ways that Frederick the Great embraced Enlightenment ideals: religious freedom, reducing censorship, improvements to education, justice system that was more just, and the abolishing the use of torture. He's not the only one. It seems that torture was an area that they eliminated once they became enlightened. So anyway, these are some of the things that Frederick the Great did as he was trying to present an enlightened front to his people and to the rest of the world. Joseph II, another ruler at the time, also embraced Enlightenment ideals by promoting freedom of speech and press, religious freedom as well, and an abolition of serfdom. The last point there is a description of what serfdom is, if you didn't know that. So, ordering peasants to be paid for their work. All right, and the last absolutist ruler that embraced Enlightenment ideals was Catherine the Great, the Tsarina of Russia. All right, she wrote with Voltaire, so she sought out an Enlightenment thinker and engaged back and forth with different ideas. Right? Again, religious toleration, reforming the justice system there in Russia, and then also getting people involved in looking at laws. Are they relevant? Are they practical? Are they just? And she was a big proponent of those things. All right, some other things that was done. It's really important to keep in mind like political expansion as well, because that's so relevant to the different things that we're going to talk about. So one way that the absolutist kings, in this case a queen, expanded their territory was, we look here at the map of Russian territory at the time. We see that the Russians expanded into the Black Sea area, which is right over here, the Black Sea area, and they expanded into lands that were occupied by the Ottomans, which are the Muslims at this time. So number 6, the Ottomans. And then another area that they engaged in warfare with was in Europe. I like mentioning this one because these people's history is full of this sort of thing happening to them on a regular basis, is Poland. Poland torn between Russia, Austria, and Prussia. Also makes sense a little bit more when we get to World War II and we see Poland being split again by, in this case, Germany and Russia.